Welcome, my friend. I'm Cassian, and this is Chronicles of the Warmaster. Here, we tell the whole Horus Heresy saga slowly, book by book. This is episode 3, and the earlier chapters are all here on the channel if you're catching up. Tonight, a forgotten oath on a poisoned swamp moon draws Horus Lupercal toward the one blade made to break him. One cut. That is all it will take, a single grey blade carried across the stars for one purpose, to bring down the Warmaster himself. Horus Lupercal is the Emperor's favoured son, newly named Warmaster of all humanity's armies. Word has reached him that Davin, a swamp moon he swore an oath on 60 years ago, has turned traitor under one of his own governors, and Horus is coming down to deal with it himself. There is a swamp at the edge of nowhere, and at dusk it goes the colour of a bruise. On a low step at the mouth of a corroded silo, something that used to be a man is sitting very still. He is too large now, and the wrong shape, his flesh swollen against the seams of an armour he can no longer be said to wear. Flies move over him in slow black riddens. He does not brush them away. Across his knees lies a blade. It is not one of ours. The lines of it are too clean, too patient, the grey of it shifting like oil on water. And when the wind drops, you can hear it, a low hum barely there, the sound of a tooth aching in a jaw. He is waiting. That is the thing to hold on to. He is not lost, not raving, not mad in the way a fevered animal is mad. He is sitting on his step with a weapon someone else chose for him, and he is waiting for a guest he knows will come. High above, through the low cloud, something is dropping. A storm bird, engines screaming against the dark. It does not know yet what it is bringing down into the marsh. Remember this figure. Remember that he is waiting. We are going to come all the way back to this step before we are done. Tonight, a being who has never lost reaches for an old friend's hand and comes away with a wound that will not close. Let me set the ground beneath you, because the last time we were together, a seed was planted, and tonight it flowers. Among the people called the Interrex, a branch of humanity older and stranger than the Imperium, who kept the weapons of their oldest enemies behind glass instead of throwing them on a fire, there was a hall of forbidden weapons. From that hall, a single blade went missing. The Interrex blamed the Lunar Wolves. The Warmaster himself swore his legion had not touched it. And a friendship between two branches of mankind burned to the ground over that misunderstanding in a single night of fire. Everyone left that wreckage behind. The fleet moved on the way fleets do. The theft was forgotten by everyone except one man. His name is Erebus, first chaplain of the Word-Bearers, a priest-warrior from another legion, riding along with Horus's fleet as a guest and a counselor. Patient, soft-spoken, trusted. Look at his face, we are going to need it. And then there is a world, a small one. Davin, a feral place brought to compliance long ago, the kind of backwater an empire forgets it owns. A man was left there to govern it, with men and a garrison and orders to keep the quiet. And above the world hangs a moon whose wild tribes never knelt. The quiet has broken, and the trap, which has been closing for years, is almost shut. But before the moon, there is a war to finish. And I want you to see how this legion fights when everything is going right, because you need that picture in your head before I take it away from you. The world's name will not matter to history. It holds a fragile, clever civilization of humans who built something good in the dark and would very much like to be left to keep it. They do not wish to be reconquered. They have decent men on their walls and no chance whatsoever, and somewhere in their hearts they know it. This is the work of the Lunar Wolves. And let me give you their proper name because it matters tonight. After the greatest victory of the age, the crushing of the Greenskin Empire at Ullanor, the Emperor of Mankind named Horus his Warmaster, first among the primarchs, the demigod sons built to lead the armies of humanity. And in the same breath, he offered to honor the legion that won that day with a new name, the Sons of Horus. Horus set the honor aside for a while. Remember it. Before this story is done, the Lunar Wolves will take that name. Into the enemy capital goes Garviel Loken, captain of the 10th Company, a serious man, the newest of the Warmaster's inner four, the one who lies awake over questions the others wave away. He commands the strike the way a surgeon commands a theatre, no waste, no cruelty for its own sake. The dead are laid out in rows. And here is the one human moment I want you to carry. In the heart of the captured city, a Magos, one of the city's machine priests, robed and chained with the rituals of his order, kneels in front of Loken. He does not beg for himself. He asks one thing in the seconds he has left. Will his city's library survive? Loken does not lie to him. He gives the man the truth, whatever it costs, because in this age, that is still who these warriors believe they are, bringers of light who keep what is worth keeping. The chains clack. The campaign closes in a matter of days. Clean, professional, complete. Hold that picture. White armor through pale corridors, the dead in their rows. A captain who answers an honest question honestly. Because the next world will give them no rows, no corridors, and no honest answers at all. The matter comes to a head at a war council, in a great tribal tent on the surface of Davin itself, with the whole expedition's leadership packed in to hear him plan their next triumph. The Warmaster is mid-sentence, naming Davin a triumph, a world brought to the light, when a single soft word cuts him off from the floor of the room. It is Erebus, and the whole tent flinches because nobody interrupts Horus. The Warmaster's equerry, Malagurst, leans in close, wary, trying to hold the moment together. Horus's expression goes from open to thunderous in a heartbeat. Erebus offers it as a correction, just a small one. Davin, he says, is not compliant, not at all. And then, piece by careful piece, in front of every officer in the room, he lays out the wound. The man Horus left to govern Davin's moon, the commander Eugen Tember, whom Horus chose himself, whom Horus trusted with his honor, has turned, has gone silent, has thrown away his oaths. The man you raised up with your own hand has spat on your name, Warmaster. He kneels now to the master of that moon, and he calls you the servant of a fallen god. Now watch the trick. Because a sharp-eyed man in that tent did, and he laid it out afterward better than I can. Erebus does the insult in public, in a crowded room, then suggests, oh so reasonably, that the matter would be better discussed in private. He says the deed was done against Horus, not against the Emperor. Against Horus, personally. He makes it intimate. He makes it sting in exactly the spot where the Warmaster cannot let it sit. And then, this is the masterstroke Erebus counsels caution. He suggests, gently, that surely a matter like this is beneath the Warmaster. Surely lesser men can be sent in his place. He knows. He knows exactly what those words will do. He knows Horus cannot back down from a stain on his honor in front of the whole expedition. By advising against it, Erebus guarantees it. He builds himself an alibi while he loads the gun. The Warmaster roars that he signed the order of compliance on this world with his own name, and he will be damned if the only world to fall back into darkness is one he himself conquered. He will lead the strike himself. A spear tip, a precise, brutal thrust to cut the enemy's head off. The four men who love him most are not so sure. These four are the Mournival, an old custom, an unofficial council of 4 captains who stand at the Warmaster's side as his conscience and his counsel. Loken, the newcomer, troubled. Tarik Torgadon, captain of the 2nd Company, the joker who feels in his gut that something here is rotten. Aximand, captain of the 5th, they call him, Little Horus, because he wears a shadow of the Warmaster's own face, silent, thinking. And Ezekiel Abaddon, the 1st captain, who hears no argument at all, only an insult that needs answering in blood. Why must the Warmaster go in person? Loken keeps circling that question. He cannot make it lie down. But the spear tip is already being readied. And out in the corridors of the flagship there is a detail, small and ugly, that Loken cannot unsee. a coin, a token, passing quietly between the first captain and the word-bearer. A secret handshake between his oldest brother and the man Lokin has decided in his heart is a liar. He presses Abaddon on it. He pushes until the first captain gives him a single answer that should have frozen the blood of every man in the fleet. Lokin had assumed the word-bearer was a guest, brought into the Brotherhood of the Warrior Lodges as a courtesy. It was the other way around. Erebus did not join their circle. Erebus brought their circle in. But there is no time to chase the thread. The drums are already sounding. The fleet is moving. And before they descend, the Warmaster does something that wipes every doubt from his sons' minds. On the embarkation deck, in front of the whole spear tip, the Warmaster kneels. He kneels to his own 4 captains and asks them to hear his oath of moment, the vow an Astartes swears before a single, specific deed. The hush that falls is total. A god lowering himself before the men he made. Abaddon draws his blade and holds it out. The Warmaster grips the naked edge in his bare hand, opens his own palm, and seals the parchment with his blood. By this blade and on this matter I swear it, none who raise their hand against the future we are building will be left breathing. The deck erupts, his name thrown back at him by 10,000 throats. Lupercal, Lupercal, Lupercal. And every fear Lokin carried gets buried under that wave of love. How could they ever have doubted him? Keep that question. We will need it later too. The Stormbirds launch in sequence, 7 seconds apart, the Warmaster's craft first off the rail, like something let off a leash. This is not subtle. The Warmaster has demanded extermination, and the fleet has obliged. 5 companies of Astartes, regiments of the Imperial Army. And, God Emperor help that little moon, a battle group of god machines from the Legio Mortis, the Titans, walking cathedrals of war as tall as towers. The greatest of them is named the DS Irae. Remember that name. It is going to do something terrible before the night is out, and it will not even mean to. On the way down through the storm, the first wrong thing arrives. A voice in the Vox. Lokin's old friend, Nero Vippus, catches it on an isolated channel, a gargling, drowning whisper threaded through the static, repeating itself like a prayer said by something that no longer has lungs. It renounces the Emperor. It renounces the Warmaster. It promises that whoever comes here will die, and in death will live forever. And it keeps speaking one name over and over, a name that sticks to the inside of the ear like grease. Nergalith, blessed be, blessed be. Lokin has heard a voice like this before, in the worst hours of his life, under a mountain on another world, where a brother of his became something that wore his brother's skin. He knows the texture of it. He warns the Warmaster, and the Warmaster waves it away. Propaganda. Noise. A transmitter to be found and silenced. They will lock onto the signal and break it. With respect, my lord, this is exactly what we thought the last time. And the last time, we were wrong. The channel goes dead. The Warmaster has stopped listening. They touch down in a bog. Lokin steps off the ramp and sinks to mid-calf in foul black water, and the stink of the place comes up through his armor's senses like a fist, rot, excrement, dead meat. An entire world quietly decaying. This moon was supposed to be hot and dry. Forests, the briefing said. There are no forests. There is a drowned land of fens and rolling yellow mist, dead trees standing in the muck that are not really dead. Split one open and it writhes, soft and maggoty at the heart. Something happened here. Something very bad. They advanced toward the signal, 4 great blocks of Astartes, the Warmaster walking bareheaded at the front, untroubled by air that the mortal soldiers cannot breathe without rebreathers. The Titans wade behind, each step shaking the bedrock. And then Lokin finds the bodies. The footfalls of the Titans have stirred the swamp, and the dead are floating up, hundreds of them. Lokin lifts one to check its colors and finds, beneath the slime, a sewn patch, the snarling wolf's head, the number of the expedition. These are their own. These were Tember's men. And then the corpse opens its eyes, and they are full of green fire, and its hand closes around Lokin's throat. The whole moon comes alive at once. The dead rise from every pool. They do not stop when shot. You can blow the chest out of one, and it keeps coming, dragging itself forward on rotted arms. The only thing that puts them down is the head, and the worst of them, the green bloated ones with a single milky eye and a horn of yellow bone, take more killing than that. A warrior tears his helmet off when the flies get in through his feeds, and his face simply rots away in seconds, melting off the bone while he screams. This is not war as the Astartes understand it. There is no skill in it, no swordsmanship, no glory. It is butcher's work in waist-deep filth. Hands clamp onto Lokin's legs from beneath the water and drag him under, and it takes two of his oldest friends, Nero Vippus and the smiling killer Luke Cedere, hauling on his arms to tear him back out of the dark. Torgadon is nearly drowned. Axaman's armor is opened along the side, his blood shockingly bright against the green. The spear tip, the perfect precision strike, is bleeding from 100 wounds before it has even reached its target. The Warmaster's voice cuts across the vox at last. Converge on the signal, head for the flames, and the warriors rally to him, because that is what he is for. They push on through the muck toward the source of the whispering, and the fog finally peels back to reveal what has been calling them. It is a ship. A starship, a great Gothic war vessel lying broken on the mudflats like a fallen cathedral. Its hull is split open, its spires toppled, its keel snapped, the whole vast carcass furred over with moss and rot. It has been here, dead, for the better part of 60 years. It is the glory of Terra, Jugend Tember's flagship, and something inside it is still talking. Lokin does not want to go inside, neither does Torgadon, and Torgadon's instincts have saved Lokin's life more than once. They both feel the same thing, a noose drawing tight. They are being funneled. This whole nightmare has been a hand on the small of the back, guiding them toward that broken hull. Lokin says it to the Warmaster's face. Let the Titans soften it first. Send scouts. Do not walk into the unknown. The Warmaster allows the Titans one salvo into the hull. Fires bloom across the wreck. And then, this is the moment Lokin will carry for the rest of his life. Horus splits the force. Erebus and his word-bearers, around the far side. The first captain and little Horus, in with the Warmaster. And Lokin and Torgadon, the two who voiced their doubts, left outside, told to guard the rear. Was it punishment for questioning him? Lokin does not know. He only knows he is standing in the mud while his brothers walk into the trap he warned them about. Inside, the ship is a corpse turned inside out. The walls drip with a bacterial slime that eats the metal. Black fungus hangs in fronds. The vox dies between brothers, every third word swallowed by static. And then, with no warning at all, the whole buried hulk tears itself free of the mud and rolls, and tons of starship slam down into the marsh with the force of an orbital strike. It scatters them, it buries warriors alive, and it leaves the Warmaster deep inside, alone. Horus pulls a spar of iron from his own chest, a wound that would kill any of us, sealed over before he has finished the motion, and stands alone with his sword in his hand. The finest weapon in the galaxy, and it has never failed him. He climbs toward the bridge, hacking through a tide of one-eyed horrors that swarm the corridors. They die in their dozens at every blow. And then he notices something. As his sword opens them, they do not spill, they dissolve, they go up like greasy smoke. They were never quite real. He is fighting the dreams of the warp made briefly solid. He reaches the bridge. The doors open for him, one after another, as if he is expected. And he is. Inside, banners hang from the ceiling stitched with the corpses of loyal men. The consoles have been ripped out and rewired into a great throbbing knot of cable, the source of that whispering signal. And there, before the captain's throne, slumped at the foot of it, is the body of Verula Moy, captain of the 19th Company, a good and quiet officer, his neck snapped. The man who had escorted the Warmaster in, killed with ease. Standing over him is a mountain of corrupted flesh, swollen past anything a man should be, draped in the rotted scraps of an officer's coat, flies crawling in every fold. One hand is buried in an infected wound in its own chest. The other holds a long grey blade whose surface shifts like oil on water. This is Yugen Temba. And look at the blade in his hand. Look at it carefully, because you have already seen it. The fluted lines, the shifting grey, the hunger in the edge. It is the weapon that vanished from the Interrex, the one the word-bearers swore they never touched. The anatheme. An ancient thing the old Xenos forged to murder gods. Someone carried it across the stars and left it on this rotting moon in the hand of a broken man with whispered instructions on what to do when his old master came to call. You see the trap now, the whole trap. The insult in the tent, the caution that guaranteed the strike, the voice on the vox that drew them in, the funnel through the swamp, the ship that swallowed the Warmaster alone. All of it to put this blade within reach of that throat. Temba speaks, and his voice comes out glottal and wet, like words pushed up through water. He calls Horus old friend. He talks of the warp as a beautiful thing, a source of power beyond imagining, the true engine under all of history. He offers an alliance. He names a word and asks Horus to say it back to him. Strike me down if you like, it changes nothing. The power in me does not die. Stand with me instead, old friend, and the whole galaxy is ours to take. The Warmaster does not bargain with it. He drives his golden sword through the swollen chest, through the heart. And Temba laughs. The mortal wound does him no harm at all. Then the anatheme comes up, and it moves with a speed no bloated corpse should own. Because, and Horus realizes this even as he fights, it is not Temba who is skilled. It is the blade. The sword wants to kill him. The sword is doing the fighting, dragging the ruined body along behind it like a puppet. They trade blows across the command deck. Horus is faster, stronger, better. He was built to be. He is winning. There was never any doubt that he would win. He catches the alien sword on his own, hooks it, sweeps it wide to disarm, the move that ends the fight. Any swordsman would let go rather than have his wrist shattered. Temba does not let go. The blade twists in his ruined grip, and as Horus closes for the killing stroke, the tip of the anatheme finds the one place on the Warmaster's body where the armor was torn away in the swamp. The bare shoulder, the seam, a finger's width of exposed flesh. Both swords land in the same instant. Horus's golden blade goes through Temba's chest and out the back, and the anatheme slides into the Warmaster's shoulder. A small cut, barely a cut at all. On a being like Horus, it should mean nothing. It is not nothing. The wound steams, it hisses, it does not close, and on Horus, every wound closes. He severs Temba's arm above the elbow, and the anatheme clatters to the deck, still twitching in a dead man's hand, alive with its own foul appetite. And here is the part nobody expected. With the blade gone, the warp power drains out of Temba, and what is left is just a dying man, weeping, bewildered, begging forgiveness. The Warmaster's rage dies with it, and he kneels by the wreck of his old friend and listens. Temba's last words are not raving, they are a warning. He says he saw the future, the galaxy as a wasteland, the Emperor dead, mankind chained in a nightmare of fear and superstition, nothing left but war without end. And he says one more thing before the light goes out of him, that only Horus has the power to stop it. Then he dies. The Warmaster cuts the cables, kills the whispering signal, and sits down in the filth beside the body of a man he once chose with his own hand, and weeps. His shoulder is still bleeding. It does not stop. Outside, the moment Temba dies and the signal cuts, every walking corpse in the swamp drops at once, lifeless, mid-stride. The battle that was grinding Lokin's warriors into the mud simply stops, like a candle pinched out. They stand among the silent dead, bewildered, alive. The Mourners gather what is left of themselves and go in after their lord. They find Sedorai's men trapped under collapsed decks. They find sword cuts and bolter scars leading toward the bridge. And on the way, Aximan says the thing none of them will say, that they should prepare for the worst. Lokin will not hear it. They would know, he insists, if the Warmaster were dead, the sky would have fallen. They would feel it in their bones. And then they step onto the bridge and find him sitting with his back to them, his glorious armor dented and filthy, cradling the swollen head of a dead traitor in his lap, blood leaking down his arm. The four men who would walk into any fire for this being stand frozen in the doorway, unable to understand what they are looking at. He will not be carried. That much pride he keeps. The first captain wants to shield him, to make sure no warrior in the expedition ever sees the Warmaster brought low, because to see him like this would break something in every man who looks. But Horus rises, sways, and walks out of that rotting hull on his own 2 feet, ashen, in obvious agony, refusing every offered shoulder. They gather up Verulam Moy's body to carry home with honor. They leave the swollen ruin of Jugendtember where it lies. The fog has lifted. The red sun is breaking over a drowned battlefield, over pools of swamp water glittering like broken glass, over the 3 great titans standing watch while Astartes put the corpses to the torch in pyres that burn an unnatural blue-green. It looks, almost, like a victory. And then, partway down the slope, the Warmaster stops mid-sentence. He has been speaking something low, something about an old friend, about how his enemies never cost him sleep, but his allies always do. The words trail off into a long tunnel. His eyes roll back, and like a mountain coming down, the Warmaster falls. For a heartbeat, the demigods do nothing. 3 emotions Lokin has never felt seize him at once: panic, fear, the inability to move. The mighty Astartes stand rooted while their world lies face down in the muck. They tear his armor off and put an ear to his chest, and there it is, the double heartbeat of a primarch, slow, far too slow, but there. He is alive. The apothecaries shove the captains aside, narcesium blades hissing into flesh, fighting to hold him together. And the wound in the shoulder, the small one, the wrong one, ignores everything they do. Apothecary Vadden calls for a stormbird. Now, Captain, get him to the vengeful spirit, now. They lift him into the red-lit belly of the gunship and climb back through the storm toward the flagship waiting in orbit. The Warmaster lies still on the stretcher, conscious, silent, watching the canopy, while Lokin kneels beside him and finds he has nothing to say that is worth saying. And the Vox begins to carry it, ship to ship, in muffled and disbelieving fragments. The Warmaster is hurt. The Warmaster is wounded. The Warmaster is dying. Across the whole expedition, across thousands of warriors who have never once imagined a universe in which this could happen, the noise dies down. The fleet goes very, very quiet. They lay him in the apothecarian of the vengeful spirit, and the finest medicae the Imperium can muster bend over a wound the size of a thumb that is steadily, patiently killing a god. Nothing works. The bleeding will not stop. The captains gather in the half-dark, the most powerful warriors alive, and they can do nothing but watch. And there is one figure in that room who is not afraid. One figure who is, if anything, exactly where he wishes to be. He stands at the bedside, calm, his shaved and tattooed head bowed in a perfect imitation of grief. The word-bearer. Erebus. He waits for the silence to grow unbearable. And then, very gently, very reasonably, he offers the gathered captains a thought. There may be one path left, one way to save the Warmaster, a way the Astartes do not know, a way the people of Davin do. The healers of terror cannot reach this hurt. But there are old rights on the world below, my brothers. If you would have him live, there is yet one road we have not walked. The Mourneville listen. None of them says yes. None of them says no. They are desperate men with a dying father and a stranger offering them the only door left in a locked room. And the camera, if there were one, would not be on them. It would be on Erebus's face, composed, patient. A man who set afire 60 years in the laying, who walked his Warmaster into a swamp and onto a blade and back into this very room, and who is now, with the softest voice in the Imperium, holding open the last door he ever wanted them to walk through. Go back with me to the swamp at dusk, to the ruined figure on his step, the humming blade across his knees, waiting for a guest he knew would come. He has had his cut now. That blade did the one thing it was made and carried across the stars to do. And the man who came down through the cloud to answer the insult, the unconquerable one, the first of all the Emperor's sons, is lying in the dark of his own flagship with a wound the size of a thumb that the greatest healers alive cannot close. A dying man named a future before the end. A wasteland, a galaxy of grim darkness and endless war, and he swore that only Horus had the power to stop it. That wound the size of a thumb is the hinge on which 10,000 years of grim darkness turn. Every world that burns in the war to come burns because of what enters through that cut. Next, to save their father, Horus's sons will carry him into a temple where salvation has a price, and where he must decide whether to trust what waits in the dark. Thank you for staying with me to the end. If this chapter found a place in your thoughts, subscribe, and you'll be here when the next one arrives each week. Leave a like and tell me your favorite moment or your own thoughts in the comments. It helps these old stories find more ears. Until next time, walk wisely and keep the Emperor's light close.